Hello, this is Pam, and today we're going to be talking about the best diet for multiple sclerosis. This was truly the first step in my recovery from multiple sclerosis. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Pam Bartha. I am the author of Become a Wellness Champion and the founder of Live Disease Free. And I am really excited to spend this time sharing with you truly the best eating plan or diet if you want to recover from multiple sclerosis, not just MS, but multiple sclerosis and any type of autoimmune. It's really helpful for cancer, for any autism, any type of chronic disease or condition, and epilepsy even. And so I just wanted to say hello to a few people. Hello, Troy. Hi, Rob. Hi, Jill. You guys can hear me? Awesome. So this topic is really important because if we want to recover like I have and like the wellness champions have and are in the process, the newer ones are in the process of doing so, we have to understand what is the best diet for recovery. There are many, many diets out there, and there's many different fads, etc., and different types of eating plans. And some of them are really healthy, but how do we know what's truly going to help us to recover the best? And so today I'm going to be sharing with you not only what I eat and the eating plan that's so helpful for us, but also why this one is the eating plan. So what I would like you to do is to just interact with me. So make sure you type in your questions. Even if you are listening to the replay, we will answer your questions and your comments below. So just type in your questions and your comments. Please interact with me. I love it because I'm just looking at my computer right now, and it's nice to see thumbs up if you understand or get it, or it really makes sense to you. So there are so many eating plans out there, and there's so many. Now we have intermittent fasting, and we have ketogenic diet, and we have vegan diet. There's so many diets. How do we know what is the most helpful for us when we want to recover? Well, if you have been following me, maybe you haven't been, but I do have a YouTube channel, Live Disease Free, and also a Facebook channel, Live Disease Free, or Facebook page, I should say. But if you look at some of my previous work, especially if you suffer with MS, I've put together a ton of evidence showing that MS is an infectious disease. And if you have a different condition, you're more than welcome to go look on PubMed or do a search on Google, your condition and infection, your condition and silent infections, and put PDF behind your search, and you'll start to see different studies linking all kinds of chronic disease, whether it's autoimmune, whether it's cancer, whether it's neurological diseases, with infections. So what do most of the infections, let's actually back off. What types of infections are most commonly causing these diseases? Well, I work with an amazing group of wellness champions and have done so for many years. And not only myself recovering, but many of the wellness champions, they're in the process of recovering or they have recovered. I'll be sharing some of their successes, some that are right now from this week, and also people that have, one lady that's graduated a couple of 3 years ago and how well she's doing. So working with all these people, the sickest of the sick, people with Parkinson's and multiple sclerosis, and when they have MS, sometimes they have cancer, sometimes they have diabetes. So it's not just that when you have MS, but you can have multiple diseases, which is very common. And what we have learned, and I've shared, thanks for all the thumbs up there, you guys you relate to that. So what I have learned, and this is consistent with research that's coming out, is that in multiple sclerosis and neurological conditions, and probably a large number of other types of diseases, they are largely due to not just candida and fungal overgrowth, not just Lyme disease, but a parasitic infestation. And when I say infestation, I mean multiple parasites and in different parts of the body. And so what do bacteria, fungi, and parasites like worms and single-cell bacteria, what is their primary food? You guys know? If you do, type it in the question box. Some of you are wellness champions listening in. So what is their primary food? For most of us, we don't know, but it is carbohydrates and sugars, right? So if we eat in a way that we bring in a lot of nutrition so that our body is fueled so it can run all of the biochemical reactions that it's running, but we are decreasing the food to the infections that are making us sick. They're giving us the GI tract issue, they're giving us the brain fog, they're giving us the allergy symptoms, hypersensitivity, pain, inflammation, there's many swelling, rashes, you name it. But most of those microbes, they thrive on carbohydrates. And our body actually can run on fat and on healthy fat. So we follow an eating plan, we call it the Live Disease-Free Eating Plan, where we are greatly reducing the food to the infections that are making us sick. And when we do that, we notice really quick improvements to our health. So if you've been eating a lot of carbohydrates, sugars, and processed carbs, etc., the first week is kind of hard because you're going through with sugar withdrawals. But after that, people start to see that their inflammation starts to go down and they start to have a little bit of symptom improvement. And that is really exciting because it doesn't really cost anything other than eating healthy food. So today we're talking about what kind of foods would be in the Live Disease-Free Eating Plan. This is a really important eating plan. So we see that low carb eating is really helpful for people that are suffering with epilepsy. It really decreases their seizures, and they can become, I know like one young boy whose parents joined the program because the father had multiple sclerosis, but this little boy had epilepsy. Following this eating plan, the child no longer had seizures. And if you look at, like, keto is another type of low carb eating. Like, it's a little different what we're doing, and I'll explain that later. But the key is that low carb, and we do know that epilepsy is also connected with parasites. And so cancer, again, you can look at on Google and find TED Talks about how low carb, low sugar, we know that sugar feeds cancer. So low sugar, low carb is really helpful for recovering from cancer. So we eat in a way that is a lot of nutrition, a lot of fiber, if you tolerate it, if you don't have irritable bowel. But if you can, if you do, then a lot of times people will do steamed, sauteed, stir-fried, oven-roasted vegetables. But otherwise, we are having a lot of vegetables, and we're having moderate amounts of animal protein. And we do that because if we just went vegetarian and we took out all of the dried beans and the legumes and the lentils and soy, and we were just having low carb vegetables and fat, we would lose our muscle mass. We would not have all the essential amino acids. So bringing back moderate amounts of protein, and this, I say moderate because some people that I work with, they're sick, but they're still working. Guys in construction, they're going to need more protein than somebody who's sitting behind a computer or somebody who's in a wheelchair. So eating enough protein to keep your muscle mass. And the nice thing is when you have the protein and the healthy fat for breakfast, your blood sugar becomes stable. You feel like you have more energy and more mental clarity, and you just feel satisfied. So this Live Disease-Free Eating Plan, again, the principle is decrease the food to the bad microbes that live in our body and increase the food, like the fiber, to promote healthy microbes to grow. And also the nutrients from the vegetables will feed the body. So we're feeding the body and we're weakening the infection. So you may not know this, but I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 30 years ago, and I have been able to keep it in complete remission and live an absolutely normal life. Not because I cured myself 30 years ago, because I live this way. This is how I eat. And just a disclaimer that this eating plan will not treat the infections. You still have to treat them, but they are challenging to treat. We are finding better and better ways when we're dealing with these deep-rooted parasitic infestations. They're difficult to treat. Sometimes they're in our central nervous system when we're having neurological symptoms. So the key is that this eating plan, it helps you to get to the place where, number one, you're feeling a little better, the inflammation goes down, you start to believe it, and then you go to the next step. And I will do another video. The next step would be supporting the body. So the first thing is stop feeding the infections, feed the body. The next step is to support the body. And then we start to build the game plan of treatment. And that's where the biggest magic happens with people. This is where people can start walking again. They can get rid of their walker. They can come out of their wheelchair. And I can never promise, but we're seeing it, and I'm so excited, and there's so much recovery that people can have that they didn't realize they could have. especially with things like mobility, which is super exciting. So the eating plan, again, let's go over the details of that. Low carb, high nutrition. So with this eating plan, comparing it to keto, keto would be really, really low carb, down to 20 grams of carbs per day. With this eating plan, we're at about 50 total grams of carbs per day. So that includes your fiber, your sugar, and your carbohydrates. So 50 grams, that's total grams of carbs. So not net carbs, but total carbs. And the sweet spot for recovery from chronic disease from these infections appears to be at around the 35 to 40 total grams. Again, listen to your body. Everything that I share is solely for educational purposes, but that's what we're seeing in the Wellness Champions. So 35 to 40 total grams of carbs, sweet spot, but for sure below 50. And what do we eat in a day? So there are so many different low-carb vegetables that we eat. Lots of greens. This time of year is so amazing because we have vine-ripened local produce. I hope you guys are buying things locally from your local farms, your farmers market, because there's so much more nutrition in that. So things that I have, like on Saturdays or Sundays, depending on how busy we are, we go down to the local farm because we're too busy to grow a garden right now. I used to when my children were younger, and I love doing that, and I hope to get into that again. But I go there and we have like 2 huge boxes of vegetables, and there's just my husband and I. And yes, we have the kids coming by once in a while for meals that are grown up. But the key is that I have spinach that was grown in the dirt, and they have Swiss chard. They have big, beautiful kale. Try to find places where they're growing organic. So this farm where we go to, there's 2 of them that we like to go to. One of them, they use minimal sprays. The other one, they use this white fabric that blocks these little insects from attacking the plants. So the light still comes in, but it keeps these different pests out. And so there's beautiful kale, tons of different types of lettuces. My favorite breakfast right now, and I don't get sick of it, is a plate full of fresh arugula that's grown in the dirt in our city or our town here on the farms. And so I'll have a bunch of fresh arugula, and I do love eggs. So I'll do a couple of eggs, fried eggs. I will layer a whole bunch of fresh basil leaves on top, and they could be like really big. Cover that on top of the eggs and just put a tiny bit of water in and just kind of steam them a little bit. Put them on top of the bed of arugula with a bunch of olive oil, and it is so amazing. And then after about an hour and a half or 2 hours, then I'll grab a very small handful of nuts. And I'll talk more about nuts because eating too many nuts will make you feel sick if you have these infections in your body. So things like, as I mentioned, spinach and arugula and Swiss chard and kale. And then there's the beautiful romaine that's growing right now in our fields, and leaf lettuce. There's all of these different and others. So sometimes you can find these Asian greens because the farmers are, I think they're from Korea, and so they're growing all these other types of greens that we've never seen before, which is great. Baby bok choy, and they now have the broccoli and the cauliflower and tons of cucumbers. So we just have a heyday in there. Green onions, all the herbs. So we literally load up, and that's where the flavor comes from. And if you live in a place where you have access to that kind of produce year round, you are very, very fortunate. We don't. Right now it's like a heyday. And so this is where you're really building up the nutrition in your body. The greens are very low in carb, so incorporate them with your meals, as long as you don't have inflammatory bowel. If you have an inflammatory bowel disease like IBS or Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, any of those type of conditions, and you know you can't eat a bunch of raw salad, then don't do that. You can steam your vegetables, right? You can steam spinach, you can steam other vegetables. We're having a big downpour here. It's just huge. So the key is that listen to your body. But if you can, have some raw, have some steamed. It's absolutely fine to have some vegetables raw and steamed. So again, I layer these greens 3 times a day. And then usually like for lunch, I'll have a big salad. So because we're really busy here, we make a big salad that lasts us for 2 or 3 days. It's huge. It's like in a big metal bowl. And I'll throw kale and lettuce and whatever cucumbers and carrots and onions and sometimes broccoli, whatever I can find. And I just throw that all in. And so I grab a big salad for lunch. And then I throw on, we usually have cooked meat in the fridge. So it'll be like chicken or roast beef. I stay away from processed meats because they contain sugars and different ingredients that really feed the infections and continue to make us feel horrible. So I usually will have just a salad at lunch. I love it, and I just kind of vary it. Sometimes I'll add different herbs. So right now, the dill is beautiful. Throw in a bunch of dill one day, or maybe it'll be cilantro the next day, or those big leaves of basil, etc. And there's oregano, and I'm growing some herbs in a little planter outside. So the key is the flavor is changed with the different herbs that you have. When you eat this way, you will see that you feel so good. You have so much more energy. And then for supper, what I will have, so in the afternoon, I usually will grab another small handful of nuts. And then for supper, I will have a heaping plate, not just like 2 little servings of vegetables, but I will have a heaping plate of at least a couple, 3 vegetables. And if I'm still a little hungry, I'll have more lettuce salad that's left over. And I always pour lots of extra virgin olive oil or different types of organic, cold pressed, the ones that are not heated so that you're not getting the trans fats, etc. But having butter and having coconut oil and having the extra virgin olive oil, and there is avocado oil. There's so many different wonderful, you can find more in the health food store. Just make sure they have not been heated. And again, you want to have or certified organic or non-GMO, make sure with them. So that's what we do, is we have protein and lots of it. And there's so many vegetables right now. We just had huge helpings of beautiful yellow string beans, asparagus, broccoli, especially from these local farms. So there's lots. And you can change them up. And the exciting thing is we're coming up with a cookbook. In the next few months, we will have the Live Disease-Free Cookbook, where we have Chef Chris Barton. He has really created a lot of wonderful recipes that will add extra flavor, like just mixing certain things together that we would never think of. And we've been doing some testing, some recipe testing, and they are amazing recipes. So stay tuned for that. We will let you know. But this is such a powerful type of eating plan. Like I said, we have people that have shared in the past where, tumors start to shrink. And it's absolutely wild. People start to have better mobility. Women become fertile. Like sometimes women are dealing with chronic disease, and they also are dealing with infertility. They're joining the Live Disease-Free Academy because they want to beat the MS, but they end up getting pregnant with the eating plan and also with treating the infections, which is so super exciting for them. So that's in it in a nutshell, is that. Oh, and I just wanted to mention too, we're off of all grains. So there are no grains. That includes, we're not having chia seeds, we're not having flax seeds, we're not having any grains. We're having no dairy products except for butter. And if you want to be a real keener, then you just you melt the butter and you take the fat off, and you can use the fat and get rid of the milk at the bottom, the little bit of milk that's there, because that will contain a little bit of milk protein, a little bit of lactose, etc. So, but most people tolerate butter fine. So no dairy, no grains. We do also totally skip alcohol and caffeine. These are people that want their life back and they want to recover. So we know that these infections produce tons of alcohol in our body, and we don't need to give our liver more work. So we're not having alcohol. And then as far as the caffeine, we know that coffee is very acidic. And when we have a lot of these infections, our body is trying to keep our body neutral when these infections are producing a bunch of organic acids. So our body uses up minerals to buffer, to keep the pH alkaline. And so we can become more depleted, not just from our food, but also because of these infections, we become more depleted in our minerals. So we do take extra minerals, and we do want to get our nutrition from plants, plant-sourced nutritional supplements, and I talk about that on other videos. But the key is that we want to get rid of anything that would be acidifying our body, that isn't giving us nutrition and it is not helpful. So definitely coffee. And because we have all these poisons running through our blood when we have all these symptoms and conditions, then our liver is working so hard and our adrenals are affected and our thyroid is affected. So we don't want to add in any extra work. And that is why we also have to consider just getting rid of caffeine, because if your adrenals are fatigued or stressed, which is really common with chronic disease, you need to give it a break. So that's why we're eating this way and drinking this way. So what to drink in the summer? I am growing some chocolate mint herb in my garden, and my granddaughter and I were just chewing on them, and they're really good. But you can put things like that in sparkling water. Don't drink sparkling water all the time because the acid in the water is hard on your enamels. But when you go out with your friends, absolutely fun to have a sparkling water. And you can flavor waters. You can put fresh lemon in your water, fresh lime. You can take herbal teas and make several cups and put it in a jug in your fridge. There is a passion tea that's really good. There's all kinds of tea. There's peppermint tea. There's rooibos teas that are really nice. So they're just find some teas that you like and chill them, put them in the fridge, put a little squirt of lemon or lime in it, maybe put some sprigs of fresh mint in it or spearmint or something like that, and lots of opportunity. In the winter, we kind of go for the hot teas, right? Because we want to warm up. But in the summer, it's so nice to have a nice chilled tea in the fridge. And also sometimes we can put fresh fruit, like some berries or some pieces of lemon or lime in the water, so the water doesn't taste sweet, and it's not going to be feeding the infections, because we're not going to eat the fruit only. And I'll talk about that in a minute as far as how much fruit we eat. But it just gives the water like an essence of whether it's berries or watermelon or something, but it's not sweet. So don't throw a bunch of fruit in if you're trying to recover, because you don't want the sugar, but you can just make the water taste good. And honestly, if you're really sick, stick with lemon and lime. That is really safe. So with respect to fruit, because that's a really important thing to mention too. So fruit, we have a very small piece of fruit. First thing in the morning, 30 minutes before breakfast. And why is that? That is because if you have a little piece of lower sugar fruit 30 minutes before breakfast, it is digested better. It's not mixed with your other food, and if it isn't digested well enough, then you can end up with fermentation. And we have a lot of fermentation when we have these infections. So things like a small kiwi, a quarter cup of berries, half a green apple, not a whole one, but a half a green apple. And we would have that 30 minutes before a meal so that it can digest and it can move on down the digestive tract and not feed the infections, right? And we never have smoothies, because smoothies, when you are grinding up fruit, or maybe you're even putting in some type of vegetable that is higher in sugar, there's carrots and tomatoes and avocado even, right, is higher in carbs. When you grind up things, you are almost like pre-digesting the carbohydrates. So when you drink it, and it's really easy to drink it quickly because you don't have to chew, then you have it in your stomach and it goes right into your bloodstream and it makes your blood sugar level go up. And that's another big key about this eating plan, is you're eating in a way that you are stabilizing your blood sugar. So it's not fluctuating during the day. You're not having crashes. You can eat whenever you want. And if you don't want to lose weight, you have to make sure you do not skip snacks and meals. So it is a really healthy way of eating. And like I said, you will be able to lose weight if you want to, but if you don't want to, you have to keep your weight on. Thank you so much for all the interactions there. I love it. Thank you. So this eating plan, again, it is feeding your body with lots of nutrition. It is also giving you fiber so that as you are, and hopefully if you're buying local produce, you're going to be having some natural occurring health promoting microbes growing on the vegetables, especially if they're organic. And we have raw sauerkraut. That's about the only thing we tolerate when we are recovering. And some people have to go slow with the raw sauerkraut. If you can make your own, it is the absolute best. I hope in the future to make a video on how we make raw sauerkraut. There's lots of recipes online, but when you take the organic vegetables that haven't been sprayed, they have this diverse mix of microbes on them. And then you chop them up really fine and you pack them in jars and you let them ferment on your counter for about 7 to 15 days, depending on how warm or cold your house is. And then you have this beautiful, sometimes it's almost like fizzy, it tastes a little bit fizzy when you pop the jar off. And tastes so amazing. And then that is the most health promoting foods you can have, because you have allowed the diverse number of different types of health promoting microbes that are living on the vegetables to multiply. And those are really the microbes that have, for many, many generations, cultures, different people, groups of people have used that to stay healthy, right? In the wintertime, they'd have the crock pot of raw sauerkraut in their basement. So as we are, but again, if you're really loaded with the bad microbes, you can't just take a whole bunch of raw sauerkraut, because it's going to be kind of like war zone going on. You may not feel well, but you just introduce it slowly and build it up slowly. But that is really the only type of fermented food that we start to introduce in the eating plan. Even before you start treating is fine. If you find you just can't even handle raw sauerkraut before because you're just so out of balance, then just wait until you start treating the microbes, the bad infections, and then you'll be able to tolerate them really well. All right, so I just want to see if I covered everything. I think that I did. So again, it is no grains and obviously no sugar. And so things like carrots and beets that would be higher in natural sugar, we would use them as a garnish instead of a whole serving. Remember that if you cook root vegetables, they become high glycemic. So we're not having sweet potatoes either. We're going with low carb vegetables. So no sweet potatoes, no snap peas, anything that, kind of sticks to your ribs, or you kind of feel like, oh, that has a great sweet flavor to it. Skip it until you recover. It will make you feel so much better. Okay, so no grains, no sugar, no dairy, but tons of vegetables and moderate amounts of protein. Don't starve yourself. If you feel that you need 4 ounces, if you're a guy, or 5 ounces, then take it. It's absolutely fine. If you're having, several chicken breasts and you're drinking different protein shakes and that is hard on your body when you're taking in huge amounts of protein. But listen to your body. Your body will tell you how much it needs. And then again, with the fat, we're eating enough healthy fat to keep our weight on, right? So if you're slim like me, then there's a calculation where you can calculate, if you figure out how many calories you need in a day for your weight, your age, your activity level, and then if you figure out how many, out of those calories, you want to get approximately half of them from healthy fat. And then you can say, well, I don't have that here. I can do it on another video. I may have done that on a previous video, but basically you say, I need X number of calories from healthy fat. And I know that there's so many calories in a tablespoon of healthy fat. So you divide that and you find out, okay, that's about 6 to 7 tablespoons throughout the day that I need to add on so that I don't lose weight. And again, my meals are not like a little serving of 2 vegetables and a little serving of meat. It's covered. Like I have a big plate full of food. And maybe you're like, Pam, I can't eat that many vegetables. It's something that you just grow into. Like you just start with where you can. You start to make changes. And a lot of times when we have these infections, we have a lot of nausea and stomach discomfort and constipation, or maybe diarrhea. And again, if you have diarrhea, then cook your vegetables, right? And just avoid the ones that don't agree with you. But what I have found is that people that are really sick, and again, these parasites and bacteria and fungus are causing the nausea, they're causing the bloating, they're causing the discomfort. But as you start to change to eat this way, and you make sure you address constipation, make sure you're regular, there's lots of wonderful things to help promote bowel movements. But you're going to start to feel like, oh my gosh, I have more energy and I slept better at night and my pain is becoming less. Actually, this is a perfect segue here. I'm going to share with you a few successes that we just had our live Q&A call with our wellness champions last night. And I just wanted to share a few successes with you. So one student, so these are people that are in the classroom, right, in our class, in the Live Disease Free Academy right now. So one student shared, I'm feeling better and better, and I know that I'm on the right track. I'm sticking with the eating plan faithfully. My energy level has dramatically improved. I'm ready to start treating infections. So she's at the place where she's perfected the eating plan. She has supported the body, and now she's ready to start treating the parasites and fungus and possibly bacterial infections. There's many of them. Another student shared, I am on my 8th day of treating parasites and I have had no nightly leg spasms for the past 2 nights. So if you've have MS, and a lot of other people that don't even have MS, they get those Charlie horses at night. It could be due to lack of calcium or magnesium, but usually it's because of these little parasites. So you don't have to just have MS to have these leg spasms. It's just that when you have multiple sclerosis, we get them really bad, and they become so bad that we end up with a completely like locked calf, and we can have drop foot, and it's like a permanent Charlie horse. It's so painful. Anyhow, so she said no leg spasms for 2 nights. I'm sleeping better. The MS hug has decreased, and my walking has improved. The neuropathy is less in the morning. I'm doing more activities during the day, which helps my legs. And I'm also reading a lot more and not falling asleep. So she's able to read and enjoy it and not be so fatigued. Another student shared, like, she's following the eating plan and she's noticed that her pain has decreased. The last 2 nights I have slept better. So, and then I just want to share a couple more that are amazing. So this student so the last 2 students that I shared, they were diagnosed with, all 3 of them, I believe, have multiple sclerosis, I'm pretty sure. And then this student has PLS, which is a slower progressing form of ALS. And she shared, so this was 7 days ago, I got this update from her. She shared, I'm feeling so much better. I can get up so much easier. I can walk up the stairs more fluidly, and my balance feels great also. I truly believe that this is the real beginning of recovery. And I often find myself actually feeling normal. That's amazing. So this is, all of these diseases are caused by infection, and it's not just Candida, and it's not just Lyme disease, it is parasites. And it is so exciting. If you haven't watched some of my videos on MS and infections, I've got pictures that you can look at if you want to see the types of worms. And again, the big worms that the students are passing, they are not necessarily what's causing the worst neurological symptoms. They definitely give us all kinds of symptoms, but we also know that it's the very small filarial worms that are throughout our body and in our central nervous system, in our gut, that are really causing a lot of the symptoms also. So then 5 days ago, she shared, and this is from her journal, I noticed today that my hands are very relaxed lately. Previously, my hands would be really tight and would naturally tense up. And I've just noticed that I haven't felt that in a while. And it's funny how, when we have these horrible symptoms coming on, we really notice it daily. But as the students are these symptoms are fading away, they're like, oh, I haven't had that in a while. And it's really exciting. And then another student shared on our call last night. He's an amazing hero, and you'll be hearing more from him. But he started the eating plan, and he had tremendous symptom improvements with the eating plan, neurological improvements, etc. But this is what he shared last night with the group. So for those who are just joining, in 3 months, I am off all my medication, blood pressure, cholesterol, off his diabetes medication. And I have been passing worms and biofilm. And he said, this program has changed my life. I can attest to it. It really works. He's just starting to use the drug treatments for treating parasites. So we have to use a combination of therapies to really treat the parasites when we're dealing with chronic disease, because they're really infested in our body. And a lot of the herbs are just not by themselves. They're not strong enough. They're not effective enough. And then I got this amazing text from a student that graduated, I believe, 2015, 2016. And I can share her name because she's on some of the other, you may have seen her successes, but Sarah shared, to express the level of energy I have. And before I carry on, I just want to share with you that she says, I haven't cheated since I started the program. She was diagnosed with MS, followed the program, became symptom-free of MS, and now, at least 2 to 3 years later, to express the level of energy that I have, I ran 5K this morning to my 30-minute workout with weights with a trainer. Then I ran home. Then I did 8 sets of stairs in this beautiful park in the afternoon with a girlfriend. That equals 1,600 stairs. It's unbelievable, she shared. And I have a beautiful picture of her with her boys and in nature. It's just amazing. So this is what it's all about. It is like, how do we know what's the best eating plan? You have to know where your health is at. You have to know, especially the microbes, like, are you out of balance? Do you have symptoms? And if you do, then you have to follow an eating plan And there are many, many to choose from, but you have to follow one that is really greatly reducing the food to the microbes that are making you sick so that they're less active, the inflammation starts to go down, and you start to feel better. That is what it's all about. And then we have to support the body, and then we start treating the infections. Even if you don't have chronic disease, do this as prevention, because that way you won't have chronic disease, because over time, over a lifetime, we pick up more and more parasites. It's just part of life. There's many reasons, and I talk about that on other calls. So the last thing I just wanted to share quickly is the ketogenic diet. It's a great diet. It's really helped with a lot of different conditions. The reason I believe it helps is because it's low carb. But the problem is that when you have chronic disease and you have these infections, you don't tolerate dairy products at all. We know that if you have chronic disease, you should avoid dairy products. So that's one problem. And then the second one is that it is so low carb that they're really decreasing like the vegetables. And we know that the vegetables are a great, great resource, not just for the nutrition, but also for the fiber that we want to build back the good microbes with, right? Because they live on that. That is their food. So the key is that the ketogenic diet for a lot of people is a helpful diet, but when you do the Live Disease-Free eating plan, that is kind of a step up, because now you are eating, you're recognizing why you're following this eating plan this way. Like, what is the state of my microbiome or microbiota? Like, how out of balance am I? Do I just have little nuisance symptoms, or am I kind of like pre-autoimmune, pre-diabetic, or maybe I have full-on disease? Wherever you're at, this eating plan will really help you to get in that place where the treatment will go really well. And then once you get back into balance, then you can decide, yeah, I'll have sweet potato once in a while, or I'll have a little bit more fruit. In the summertime where we live, the peaches are abundant, and yes, I will pig out on a couple of peaches. Will I eat that every day? No, but if I'll eat 2 or 3 peaches, yes, I will, because it's just, but that is my cheat. And that's because I'm disease-free right now. But in order to get to disease-free, you can't have those cheats, because you will continue to feed the infections and you will not recover. The treatments on their own are not a magic pill cure. It's the combination of doing things. There are a lot of things in the works that I'm really super excited about how to treat these infections quicker, more effectively, using a combination of, sometimes it's frequencies, light frequency therapy, plus the pharmaceuticals, plus the eating plan, plus sometimes oxidizing agents, which are like oxygen agents, plus sometimes herbs. And when you combine all of that, plus you've built your body up, then the magic really happens. And that's where we see the body can really shine, and it can really go back to working the way it's supposed to, and we can have maximum recovery. And then once you're at that place where you feel disease-free, then you can say, you can pick your life. If you're a high achiever and you take a lot out of your body, then you are going to be a little stricter with things, right? And that is the key. You listen to your body, but then and then you will treat parasites at least once a year as prevention. All right, I'm going to go to your questions quickly here. I was hoping to be done a little quicker, but lots of important things to share with you. Hi, Stephanie. And hi, Harvinder. Which vegetables are helpful in recovering from multiple sclerosis? So the greens are really well tolerated. All the vegetables, the salads, etc. And also things like broccoli, cauliflower, string beans, not the dried lentils and the dried beans. We avoid those just because we find that we end up having a lot more fermentation in our gut because the bad microbes are feeding off it. There's just too high in carbohydrate. So lots of greens, and then incorporate some different vegetables. So like I said, the cruciferous vegetables, the broccoli, the cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, string beans, asparagus, the Chinese vegetables. There's tons and tons of vegetables, but we would avoid things like sweet potato, yam, and peas and corn, all of those, because they're really higher in carbs and they will feed the infections. So this is where you plan ahead, and then you measure the total grams of carbs with some type of a like a chronometer, an app you can get on your phone. Make sure you're measuring the total grams of carbs, which includes sugar, fiber, and carbohydrates. And you want to keep that below 50, and better yet, between 35 to 40. And then I want you to definitely comment, because I've had so many people that have watched my videos and they're like implementing what I teach, and they're like, I've had so much improvement already, right? And then when you're ready to treat the infections, come over and chat and watch my masterclass training. That will help you to understand more about treating the infections. All right, so those would be the important vegetables. Hi Neva, hi Sherry, hi Ricky. This is your very first live post, Rad. Awesome, but it's so nice to meet you. Colleen, hi. Hi, Laura. Hi, Najee. Good. You've also introduced some raw veggies with your meals. I love it. Like right now, again, kohlrabi is something you have to be careful with because it's higher in carbohydrates. But again, if you just kind of have an idea, like I've been doing this for so long, so I know if I have a slice or two with everything else I'm eating, and I'm not in the disease state anymore. But so many wonderful raw vegetables right now that are so good. Hi, Danielle. Yes, that is true. Leg spasticity is not fun at all. And Danielle is somebody who is such a huge, huge hero. She has beat the MS. She's gone back to work. She got her license back. So proud of her. I work with the most amazing, amazing wellness champions, and I am such an honor. And hi, Allison. Incidental carbs. Yeah, so like things like carrots and avocado, peppers, they have higher sugar content, so they're still okay as an accent with our food. Like if you have a big salad and you put some just a little bit of grated carrot on, or you have a couple of slices of an avocado, not a whole one, because a whole avocado could give you up to 20 grams of carbs. That's like half your daily carbohydrate allowance. And please understand, avocados are very healthy. They really are. But when you're in the recovery phase, when you eat too many grams of carbs at one time, you kind of get a carb load. So if you, let's say, had half a cup of nuts at one time, you're getting a carb load at that time, and you'll feel horrible. So be really careful with the nuts, because that is one thing that some people just say, I can't control myself with nuts, so I just get them out of the house until I'm through the recovery process, and then I'll eat them small amounts. But you're right, Ali. It's really important point is that things like carrots, avocados, green and red peppers, but also the cherry tomatoes, they have really high sugar amounts. So be careful with them. If you take 2 cherry tomatoes and you cut them up into quarters and put on your salad, that's okay. But be really careful with them. And again, it's the total, what you get in the day. And remember that we're getting down to that level so that we can treat the infections. And then once you recover, and I honestly believe with all of my heart, because of what we're seeing, is that we are going to recover faster and faster, even though we are really dealing with a lot of chronic disease. And then you can, you're not going to live as strictly, but you will find what works for your body for sure. Hi, Roberta. Okay, the healthy fats, I think I mentioned it before, but the extra virgin olive oil, the avocado oil, coconut oil, butter. If you can get grass-fed butter is obviously better with the omega-3 for sure. But those, and then there's other oils. You can find sweet almond oil. You can go in the health food store and look for things that are, as I mentioned, they are cold pressed, they are organic, non-GMO, etc. A lot of them are non-GMO, but you just don't know anymore with what is GMO and what isn't. There's so much contamination in different things with the glyphosate, and so you really want to try to avoid any type of glyphosate. So the non-GMO project is great, and certified organic should be non-GMO. And then remember, you just want, the biggest thing is you don't want the oil really heated, because if it's heated, then it's denatured, and then it is trans fats, and they're not good for us. Hi, Moret. Moret is another one who's just got back on her bike, which is so cool. She got a bike and she's biking again. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Lisa May. Yes, that's the key, is this eating plan is evidence-based. And Lisa May is a nurse, and she not only beat her MS, these are all comments in the feed. So Lisa May not only beat her MS, but she also corrected her infertility. And super exciting for her. Like, she's done so well, and she's a healthcare professional, right? And so this is a very different path. And we have a lot of nurses that always join, that are sick, that get well. Hi, Jean. Hi, Ian. Or I'm not sure if, I think it is Ian, or maybe it is. So you're on Jelenia Iman. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. You're on Jelenia tablets every 6 years for your MS, terrible adverse effects, and now deciding to stop them. What do I think? I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm not allowed to give medical advice. I can just tell you what I would do. And again, you have to talk to your doctor and talk to your pharmacist. But things to consider is that Gilenya traps your lymphocytes in your lymph nodes. Your lymphocytes are part of your immune system that defends you against infection. You need them. So what I've seen in my students is that when you are, and that's what all the MS drugs do, is they are suppressing your immune system. And when you're taking drugs that suppress your immune system, think about it this way. If there's a war going on in your body, the bad microbes are the enemy. And your immune system is trying to fight. So your immune cells, your soldiers, are fighting and fighting and fighting. But this has been going on for a long time, and it's an unfair fight. And the bad microbes have taken over too much territory. The war is out of control. There's a lot of inflammation. There's a lot of damage. So what do we do with our wisdom in our standard of care? We're like, oh, we'll just shut the soldiers down. We will wipe out the division of lymphocytes. We will wipe out the B cells with other drugs. We will suppress the immune system out of the central nervous system. Does that make sense? Or should we be treating the enemy and supporting our soldiers, right? And that's the problem with Gilenya. It traps a certain part of your immune system in the lymph nodes where they're produced, so they can't come out and defend you. So a lot of times when we're on these drugs, we still progress because the enemy is still there. It's taking over quicker now. And then we end up with several diseases because other microbes move in. It's like, hey, there's no soldiers here. We can just move in, and we end up with cancer and diabetes with MS, and epilepsy, and inflammatory bowel, and arthritis. We can have 3 to 5 diseases in time because we're taking these immunosuppressive drugs instead of treating the infections. So if you want to go to my website, livedisese-free.com/ms-infections/ms-infections with an S, you will see that I've put together a whole bunch of studies that show you various different types of infections involved, why you feel so sick, and share that with other people, right? Really important. So myself personally, I want to treat the cause, and that gives you the greatest quality of life. Little Paris, is it sugar? So sugar, carbohydrates break down to sugar also in your body. So yes, sugar feeds these infections like crazy. Yes, Lisa May, thanks for sharing. Hi, Dawn. Yes, the cookbook. I know, I can't wait for it too. He has amazing recipes. Like, when he came over to do testing, we were just in heaven, just really awesome. And he has this knack of putting all these different ingredients together that you would never think to put them together, and just lots of little tips. He's going to just revolutionize this eating plan. I'm so super excited. Chef Chris Barton is going to revolutionize the Live Disease-Free Eating Plan to make it like gourmet. It already is gourmet, especially in the summer for me, when I can go and eat this wonderful produce that tastes so amazing. It has so much flavor, but he has this knack with putting these specific herbs together and spices and flavors. It's awesome. Hi, Marlene. And I think that's it for the questions. So Leah, or Lee, that is a really great question that you have. It sounds like a lot of raw food, hard to digest for many people. Again, if you have a compromised digestive tract, then steam, saute, stir fry, oven roast the vegetables that agree with you. Go low carb though, and you'll start to notice that your gut is going to start to heal, and then you can start to introduce a little, once you're at that point, as it starts to heal. And again, if you feel really nauseous and you don't have an appetite, then you eat what you can, but you just kind of increase it in tiny little increments over time. We've had lots of students that were like, couldn't eat anything, ate like a sparrow, hated vegetables. And over time, they're eating the 9 to 13 servings of vegetables a day. It's almost like 3 platefuls. So it's kind of like a switch over. And listen to your body. Do it as is comfortable, but every step you take forward is a step towards taking your life back. So if this is the first time you met me and you're like, Pam, that was so much great information, go and watch my other videos on Live Disease Free YouTube channel, Live Disease Free Facebook page. And then also just make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you know about the future videos that we're putting out, trainings. And then if you're at that place where you're like, well, Pam, I have been on this journey. I've been trying so many things. I've done, maybe it's CCSVI, maybe it's stem cell therapy. Maybe you've spent all of this money working with integrative practitioners. You've been working functional medicine and you're still sick and you're not getting better. Then make sure to watch my masterclass training. And if you're ready to become a wellness champion, then reach out to me. You can start immediately. You can join this amazing group of wellness champions, and I can be sharing your success. Next week, I'll be here again, and I will be talking about the intermittent fasting. Is it really healthy? It is a big craze right now, and we just want to know, like, is that something that we should be doing? And I'm going to help you so that you can make sense out of it. So with that, I'll let you go, and we will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye for now.